So what are some other alternative assets to consider besides multifamily syndication? That's what we work with is multifamily syndication, but we also see a lot of value in other types of alternative assets that you can do outside of Wall Street. So here with me today is Michael Blanc. Welcome, Michael.
Hey, Bronson, good to see you.
We were just talking for a minute on before, and you said you were born for this topic. So I'm so excited to hear what you're going to say. No pressure, but just tell me, you're the multifamily guy. So why would someone ever, for me, why would somebody want to look outside of multifamily syndication if they were going to do some investing?
Yeah, so obviously multifamily is the best. So that's really all you got to remember. No, all kidding aside. So you have to really map your investing strategy, your goals with your investing strategy, right? So for example, multifamily checks off a lot of boxes. It has cash flow, it has appreciation. There's a hedge against inflation, and that's why we love the multifamily space. It like I said, it checks off a lot of boxes. But it is all focused in one sector. It's a real estate sector. Yes, it's a robust one, and it performed incredibly well in the recession. But there are other things that perform well in a different time, and so there are definitely other investments to consider that maybe do something similar in different industries or do something completely else, like they're much better hedge against inflation or they're better appreciation or things of that nature. So I think the biggest thing is that, hey, open your mind and not just think stock market. And it's great that you're thinking multifamily syndications, which is a major step, because once you're thinking in that mindset, your mind is now open to completely other investments as well. And so I think it's an important thing to talk about some of these alternative investments.
Absolutely. And I think what you said is true that multifamily, I mean, obviously we're multifamily guys, so we love multifamily for in a recession, on a recession, whatever. I mean, it's just an amazing place to be. But really this idea of getting money outside of Wall Street, that there's so much amazing things you can do outside of Wall Street. So can you just touch on some different types of alternative assets that people might consider looking into?
Yeah, I mean, here's some commercial real estate, right? Is perfect because first of all, not all real estate is created equal, as we know, right? Single family houses are completely different than multifamily, different market cycles, different geographies, whatever else. There are others. For example, there's office, right? There's retail. There is light industrial. And I don't love office and retail just because I just saw the way it performed in the last recession and it got hammered. And I'm like, I don't like development for the same reason, right? Because if you're starting a development project now and a recession comes next year, you're not selling anything out and you're left holding the bag. So I don't love that either. There's other things like I like self-storage and mobile home parks. Okay, I really like self-storage. As I studied more, though, I have learned that the people who are really successful in self-storage are also managing their own assets. And that way they get consistency. It's very difficult to hire third-party managers for self-storage, which makes it harder, in my opinion, to get into until you achieve scale. But other than that, I like the way it behaves with cash flow and recession-proof. Same with the mobile home parks. I'm just not the guy to own mobile home parks. It's just not for me. It's like the same thing. I don't like to do Section 8 subsidized housing. That's just not me. I just don't like it. But I know plenty of people who make plenty of money in mobile home parks. Love that as well. Then there's precious metals, right? Gold, silver, platinum. And I've been actually started investing myself ever since going to the real estate guys because, again, talk about that opening of your mind about, the markets and other alternatives. The nice thing about gold is actually a hedge against inflation. So if you look at it, they say, back 100 years ago, an ounce of gold would buy a very nice suit, okay? Today, an ounce of gold buys a very nice suit. Same thing, right? And so it preserves its value in absolute terms versus the dollar. It keeps going up, but in what it actually in buying power, it stayed the same versus the U.S. dollar has eroded every single year. And the Fed, obviously, their target is to erode your hard-earned money, Bronson, that's sitting in your bank account by exactly 2%, and they've been on track, right? So inflation is 3%, yay, ooh, growth, but two of that is actually you're actually growing 1% is really what you're doing. And so gold is a fantastic hedge against inflation. So that's worthy of consideration. Then there's oil and gas, right? Oil and gas doesn't really generate cash flow, but it has very good tax benefits, almost as good as multifamily. And of course, it's a completely different sector. And it's like these boom and bust things. You can make crazy great money, or you can lose it all if the well doesn't go in, if the drilling doesn't go anywhere. And so I don't know much about oil and gas, but I'm learning a little bit more about it. And it's very interesting, something that people should look into. Then there's other stuff like ATM machines. David Zook, good friend of mine, he raises money for ATM machines. wow, you can do that? But ATM machines behave a lot like real estate, right? There's cash flow, you get the depreciation, and so they behave a lot like real estate is something worthy of consideration. So the more sophisticated you get as a passive investor, the more you should open your minds to alternative investments. Have you heard of any others, Bronson?
Yeah, so there are many others out there. I think you mentioned the real estate guys. I've also been exposed to some of these different ones that you mentioned. There's something called life settlements that it's something you can search. Just search life settlements. It's actually an insurance product where sometimes a fund will buy people's insurance that are older that they can't afford the insurance anymore, and they put it into a structured fund, and basically you buy a percentage of it. So it's actually truly not correlated to the stock market or real estate, which is very unique. But anyway, there's a lot we could talk about that. But anyway, just you can take a look at that. But Michael, tell us real quick. I mean, you touched on a lot of different things. How do people find out about these different types of deals that are not necessarily multifamily, or they're not necessarily stuff that everybody's talking about?
Yeah, I mean, just educate yourself online, obviously, about these things. A great way to learn them is events. And we mentioned the real estate guys; they have they just have a very, very well-rounded look at investing in general. Real estate makes up a big component, but really their mission is to get investments out of Wall Street into Main Street, and so they look at a lot of the alternative investments. If you can look at some of their and I tend to go as well as you to a lot of their events. So if you want to check out what's going on, go to the michaelblanc.com/guys. And it has their kind of events calendar on there, and also shows which ones I'm going to if you want to hang out with me. And they also, for a few $100s, actually have a recording of the future money of wealth from last year. And you can learn so much by just listening, and I think it's video as well, by watching these things. And they have people talk about gold. They have people talk about oil and gas, all kinds of alternatives. It's really, really mind-opening. I mean, it blew my mind when I first started going 3 years ago. I was like, holy moly, I have to educate myself, and I still have a lot to learn. So that's a great way to learn about these things.
Yeah, one of the best events I've been to is that Summit at Sea that happens every year. I know I'm going this year. I know you're planning to go, and you brought your whole family last year.
I
So
did.
I think that's happening again, right?
That's
So
right.
it was a lot of fun hanging out for a week on a boat with a bunch of great investors. But the biggest thing you can do, and we talk about, is education and networking. So one way, we've created a resource. Michael's created a great resource. It's a report comparing the stock market and traditional investments with alternative investments, such as multifamily syndication. So you can go to themichaelblanc.com/report, and you can find that there. You can download that. It's a great resource. Secondly, if you are interested in getting involved in investing with us, we invest in multifamily syndicated deals. You can find out more about that at NightHawkEquity.com, and click the join button, and you can basically schedule a call, and we can basically see if we'd be a good fit to work together. So thanks again for taking the time today to watch this video, and we are committed to your financial freedom. We look forward to seeing you on the next video.